In Acts 25, Paul's back in court. But the real defendant isn't Paul, it's the gospel. And while everyone else is playing politics, the message of Jesus refuses to be silenced. Join us as we talk about it.
Welcome to the Morning Manna Podcast. You're invited to the table for real conversations about faith, culture, and the everyday pursuit of loving God, loving each other, and loving the world around us.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Morning Manna Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Ertel. We're so glad that you're here. And today we've got Dr. Carlo Serrano.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We've got the one and only Anna Wiggins.
Hey.
And we've got Pastor Jeff Christensen.
How's everybody doing?
Hey, good to see you all. We've got the teaching team here, basically. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Minus Chris and James.
That's it.
The brain trust.
That's right. Anyway, good to see you guys. All right. Hey, we've got also a different producer. We got producer Todd.
What's up?
You got banished to the producer seat?
Yeah, apparently. Is this a downgrade
Yay.
or a demotion? I
Well,
don't know.
I think it is.
If you're on that side, that means Cape and Consequences is not coming at us today, right?
Oh, well, cross your fingers.
You would only hope. Changed it to Anna's consequences.
No.
No. Yeah,
No. You give me hot sauce, I'm crying.
No,
the whole time.
I would not, absolutely not do that to you. No, so Bryson would call this an upgrade, maybe a promotion.
I'm
but-
sure he would.
Yeah. All right, so I got, let's get into this icebreaker. So Paul has proven that the gospel is a hill he is absolutely willing to die on. And he will actually prove this, by the way. This has really got me thinking. What is a hill that you are willing to die on? Sort of a hot take on something that always gets you revved up.
Like a pet peeve.
Like a pet peeve or something that you just can't let go of. Nick, I want to pass this to you first.
I feel like I actually have a number of these.
Yeah.
Where they don't matter, but I have a very strong opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
All right. Here's one that I was just thinking about the other day. And I'm just going to throw it out there. Anyone who wears socks to bed is a psychopath. There it is. I'm just going to say it. If you wear socks in your bed, fuzzy socks.
Well, now, wait a minute. You said socks, then you said fuzzy socks. These are different things.
Well, it's just different
So
levels
what-
of being a psychopath.
I feel like if you wake up with the socks still on, because like sometimes you're cold.
No.
And it's really cold, and you start out the night and you're like, okay, there's socks because it's cold. But they cannot last the whole
literally
night.
never done that.
Nope. No. Here's the thing. So I'm picking on my wife a little bit.
I thought you were.
We like to
Yeah.
have fun with this. She picks on me plenty,
Like,
trust
so
me.
you married a psychopath.
That's
That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
I
That's what I
love
heard.
that psychopath.
She demonstrated her mental health by saying yes to you.
There we go.
Maybe
Okay.
she had
Well,
to be a
maybe
little bit.
proof.
I like to tell her. I like to tell her that her flavor of crazy matches my flavor
Yeah,
of
that's
crazy
good.
because we're all
Okay,
crazy.
that's good.
Anyway, but I tell her. So she wears fuzzy socks to bed, and somewhere in the middle of the night, the sock fairies take them off her feet, and they work their way up the covers. And I'll turn
You've
around,
told this story
and there's a
before.
sock right there.
Yeah.
And it happens
That's good.
regularly.
Laying across your face.
Yeah, so I've picked it up and literally just laid it on her head before, and like you're gonna wake up with that. Anyway, so
That's good.
anyway,
That's interesting. Okay.
that's
Wow.
that's one of my hills.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
That's a good way to start.
That's a hill that you die on. That's interesting.
I'm taking a
He
strong.
dies daily on that hill.
Yeah.
I'm dying to my flesh,
Yeah.
maybe.
There you
I don't
go.
know.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say that's
Wow.
more of a hot take, but
It's a hot
yeah,
take.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Sure. But-
Yeah.
so
I'll
it could
go
be
with-
either one.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
I will say this though. I don't wear socks because I'm cold at night. That's crazy to me because I am never cold at night. But I very rarely. We'll say that. But I do occasionally put socks on at night. Like, have you ever tried? If you've got a cough, like something with like eucalyptus or even Vicks on your feet with socks on.
What?
Dude, it treats a cough, baby.
You
Yeah.
putting Vicks on your feet, bro?
No,
never
not,
heard that
not
before?
usually Vicks, but like I'll do like eucalyptus.
Like the
in
plant.
like a. Oh my gosh! Yeah, well, okay.
His wife is crunchy.
Essential oils.
Essential oils, I was
Essential
gonna say,
oils.
Oh, okay,
In
okay,
like a coconut oil mix.
Yeah.
And you spread that on your feet and put some socks on, bro. That will help a cough now.
If Emily says
That's
it's gonna
not
work
crazy.
and it's gonna help you, I'm gonna try it.
Yep.
So,
Okay, man.
No, that's
I'm
fact.
Oh, we've done that for our kids too.
Yes.
Yeah,
100%
absolutely.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So y'all haven't
Yeah.
just been giving them like whiskey with a side of NyQuil when they have a cough, like the rest of America? Like
Wow.
what is
Here's
happening?
half a bottle of
Here,
NyQuil.
drink-
That's
drink
right.
this shot of-
Actually, my kids, one of the active ingredients in NyQuil makes my kids sprout horns.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't do
That's
that.
the opposite
actually.
effect.
That is correct.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
youngest son is that way.
Yeah.
Anything that would normally put someone to sleep, it
Bam.
does.
Yeah, right. He goes
Wired.
into serial killer mode. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Oh man. So I was I don't want to turn this dark. And like I'm
You do
afraid
you,
I'm going to go
boo-boo.
dark.
You do you.
On this one. Yeah, when I start thinking about hills that I want to die on or things that irritate me constantly, hot takes as Todd has said.
Yep. That's what the youngins say these days.
I feel like I'm breathing like Vader right now. I can hear the Vader.
Well, that's not out
I
of
can
the ordinary.
hear the Vader. It's because you got me
He's
worked up.
transforming
You
people.
said you were going to go dark.
He's
Now
turning.
you're on the dark
that's right.
side.
Yeah, it's working. Oh my gosh. I'll just say this, and then we'll move on to Anna. I absolutely, utterly despise news. I despise the news cycle. I despise everything about it.
Yes.
And it from either side of the aisle.
Yeah.
I just can't handle it, and I am like, anyways.
You know, I
let's
think
go.
there's a lot
Anna,
of people.
how about you?
No,
What do
I
you
think there's a lot of people that agree with you.
I'm sure that's true. I just don't want to start something right now because that's not what this is about. So, anyways,
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'll move on to a more
Yes.
lighthearted,
Something less contentious. Yeah.
less controversial. When this airs, we're going to be somewhere around like under 80 days till Christmas.
wow.
So
yeah.
it's okay to decorate.
You're an early decorator for Christmas.
I'm a decorate when you want to decorate for Christmas.
Oh, you are?
person.
Oh,
I
okay.
am. If you have a real tree, then you should probably wait till December.
Yeah. Safety
Because
would say.
safety.
Sure.
But if you don't, and that tree is sitting up in the attic,
So you just
it's
skip
just
fall.
Are you telling us that half
Like-
your house is Christmas already?
Not yet,
I
but
feel
it's
like you're on the
about to
path.
be.
Yeah.
You're on the
it's
final
on the
approach.
way.
It sounds that way
It's
to
a
me.
slippery
yeah, yeah,
slope.
Yes.
Okay.
It's coming.
So, like, you're an
And Ray
October
Fletcher is with
decorator?
me. So I think it's getting earlier and earlier.
yeah.
I just
Oh,
like
wow.
the lights.
That's what's happening.
How long do you leave it up
love it.
afterwards?
That's a
Okay.
good question.
Okay, so Christmas is like a quarter of the year as far as decor goes.
I'm pretty sure it's one day, but I mean,
No, it's a quarter of the year as far as the decor goes.
History
So,
would say.
You know, if it goes up in November, I'm probably leaving it up somewhere well into January. It's gone as
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
it's
Yeah,
gone
yeah,
as far as Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Wow.
That definitely has happened.
You know,
that
I-
was more like bad planning, and it's pretty.
I know people who
So-
have a holiday tree. They don't call it a Christmas tree. They call
Yes.
Holiday
it
tree.
a holiday
Yeah,
tree
yeah, yeah.
because every holiday throughout the you've got like a,
Yeah.
a
Oh
my
minor
gosh,
holiday
no,
every month.
No.
Yeah, I'm not
And
there. I'm
They
not
got like
there,
a 4th of
D-Bowie.
July
I love
tree.
you, D. Bowie, but I'm
I was
not
going to say,
there.
I feel
Yeah.
like at least two other podcast co-hosts, that is their,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least two of them, they are always a tree that they can decorate.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, oddly enough,
Yeah,
I would
and they're
rather go
friends.
after Christmas than too early before. Like
Okay.
that space between
Okay.
Christmas and what is it? That love holiday? The
Valentine's
love
Day.
holiday.
Yeah,
Oh,
whatever.
wow. He doesn't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
say the name.
No,
Yeah.
won't do
Uh-huh.
it. So like somewhere in between there, I think is acceptable to me.
So I might not fully decorate it, but like the tree's coming out, the lights are coming on. It's
Okay.
going to be on every night, and then I'll decorate, and then I'll undecorate it, but I'll leave the lights on for another like month.
I can understand that come November 1st.
It's just-
I get
yeah.
that. I get that.
I mean, the weather finally turns like around Christmas. It's like cool, and so or hopefully cold.
Oh.
So you want it to feel nice and cozy. Instead, we take all the decorations down and it feels bleak. So that's
true.
my hot take. You can
All right.
decorate
All right.
whenever you
Perhaps.
want.
I like the whenever you
You
want.
now have
I'm-
permission.
I'm a fan of usually leave people alone, let them do their
Yeah.
thing. But
Until
It's not hurting you.
Until it's too weird.
I thought hard about this because
like
I've
socks
had,
in the bed.
I've
Too
had
weird.
that's too weird. I've had
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
changing tastes over the last couple years. I was talking with Jamie about this, and things that used to be like hill to die on. I'm like, I don't really care that much
Yeah.
about that
You're
anymore.
not there anymore.
So this is more just me trolling and wanting to fight with people. Pineapple never belongs on pizza.
False.
man.
False.
Yeah, I
Come
disagree.
on.
Yeah.
Cancel you
I am
both.
so with you, Carlo.
Yep.
Never.
What?
I
So
agree.
with you.
Pineapple
What?
is delicious.
Absolutely.
It should not happen.
Pineapple
No.
is delicious. You
Be
should
honest.
eat pineapple.
Have you
Yeah.
actually tried it?
Agreed.
Multiple times.
Yes.
Okay.
With
Well,
what other toppings?
First of all, how dare you ask me?
Yeah.
Ask, trust me.
First of all, do you know who I am?
First of all, come on. Of course, I've tried it multiple times, multiple toppings. I've done the ham.
So you love it?
Yeah.
I've done, and it's
'Cause you keep
never
going back to
good.
it.
Never.
Is it just on the pizza, or is it like warm pineapple in general?
I love pineapple, and I
do too.
love warm
Yeah.
pineapple, and I love like a roasted, like pineapple on the grill.
Grilled pineapple.
All right, here we go.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
All good.
So what? Why
Yes.
does it not belong on a pizza? Though?
Because it doesn't belong on pizza.
Pineapple
What
should
does it
not be
not go
on
with?
dough. It
Why?
should not be on dough.
Because of reasons.
Really?
That's why.
That's right. Because of reasons. And it should not be mixed with tomato
Illogical.
sauce.
For me,
should not.
so
honestly,
ditch the
I
tomato
think.
sauce.
For me, I think it's the tomato sauce
Yeah.
blend.
So you need to swap the tomato for barbecue sauce.
No.
Put chicken, cheese,
Yeah.
and red onion
okay.
on it.
All right, now.
Okay.
And
hold
now
on.
you're talking about.
Now
it.
that might be something else.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That's why I
All right.
said what
Well
toppings.
done,
willing to
Anna.
try.
Well done.
I would do that. I would try
Thank
that.
you.
I'm willing to try.
Thank you.
All right.
Defending all of the pineapple
That's right.
lovers out there.
But basically, what you just turned that into is barbecued pineapple and chicken
Pizza.
with bread.
Well, that's what.
What's the problem?
That's what. That's what.
No, but
Jamie,
what
Where
I
I
mean
was
is,
introduced
at
to
some
it.
point,
Yeah.
it's less and less like a pizza.
Yeah, that's what Jamie is
Well, what
screaming
is a
right
pizza?
now.
Well, to me, a pizza. Okay,
Oh,
all
come
right.
on now.
We're treading into other territory.
It's a hot
here.
dog a sandwich.
Okay,
That's-
that's where we're heading.
Nope, can't go
We're
there.
heading there.
It's
yeah.
chili soup,
Yeah.
right? That's
It's a taco.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Let's see
right.
where this is going.
It's a taco
How much
sandwich.
Yeah, we need to move.
Okay,
We need
all
to
right.
keep going.
I feel like right.
Hey, so for those of you watching or listening, what is your hill that you are willing to die on? Or maybe it's one of those hot takes that we've been talking about. Comment down below. We will pick a comment and shout you out next week. Now, stick around to the end for our Manna mailbag question. Just going to give you a heads up.
Man, a mailbag.
It's a spicy one, especially for those of you with tattoos.
It's a spicy one.
All right, yeah, it's spicy. I'm excited for this one. All right, Nick,
I
back
feel
to
like
you.
I'm excited for y'all to answer
Anna
this
is the
one.
only unscathed one in this. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Just a little holier.
Let's jump
right.
into
She
the.
has, Anna has thug
Just an
life
itch.
tattooed
Yeah,
on the
right.
back of her neck.
Right.
You'll
Wiggins.
never see
She
it.
just covers it with her hair.
Her husband did it with an ink pen.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I know.
Wow.
It says thug life right on the back of her neck, guys. Trust me. Anyway.
Wow.
Wiggles cuddles right there.
Wiggles.
Wiggles
Cuddles. Wiggles. Wiggles. Giggles.
Wiggles giggles. There we
Wiggles
go.
giggles.
Wiggles
Oh,
giggles.
yeah.
Made its way in, Michael.
That's fun. Well, let's jump into the meat and potatoes. We are in Acts 25, y'all.
Yeah.
So coming out of Acts 24, starting Acts 25, Paul's been in prison for 2 years now, really on trumped up charges. Imagine, so prison is not the reform for them. That's not the their way of administering justice.
Yeah.
That's not the consequence. It's just a holding pattern. So he's been there for 2 years, and now there's a new sheriff in town. The new governor is now it's not Felix, it's Festus. And so there's this back and forth. In fact, right away, the Jewish religious leaders are like, "Hey, back to trying to kill Paul. Let's get back to that. Let's try this trial all over again. And why don't you bring it down here to Jerusalem?" There's so much back and forth. So, Dr. Carlo, I'd like to start with you. With all this back and forth in the judicial system that's going on there, what does that say about the early church and their relationship with politics and this whole justice system? Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah, I think embedded in Paul still being in jail and the Jewish religious leaders still wanting to take him out is the reality we talk about at Manna Church all the time, that the church is a force.
Yep.
The church is having a difference. People are still pledging allegiance to Jesus. People are still following him. The kingdom is still advancing.
Yeah.
This guy is in jail, and he's not any less productive in jail in chains than he was going out and about. So there's definitely movement still happening in the church for sure.
Yeah. And it almost seems like, I don't know, just my opinion, maybe this is my American, modern, Western mentality, who knows? But it just kind of seems like the justice system isn't so just.
Well, yeah, there's multiple angles of justice that are going on here. And we're going to get into this as we get into the chapter. Paul is very clearly proving, I'm innocent as far as it relates to the law.
Yeah.
I've not broken any laws, and I'm not going to surrender to the Jewish law. That's why he, stays there. Stays in
Yeah,
prison.
so this is a holding pattern. I think it's interesting. I know this isn't chapter 24, but last week, us just looking at how Felix held on to him for a while. And to me, that's interesting. Felix wasn't willing to administer the justice that the Jews wanted, which is, declaring him guilty, killing him, whatever that may look like. But he wasn't going to release him either. And it's this political game, and that's continuing here because Festus is continuing this political game where he wants to make everyone happy. In fact, what happens next is that he wants to what's his name? My gosh, Felix and Festus. Festus is wanting to do the Jews a favor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because the Jews are like, hey, why don't we take this up to Jerusalem? I say up, they're geographically south, but they always say going up to Jerusalem. So they're like, why don't we take this up to Jerusalem and hold it there? And Festus is like, he knew that there's probably trouble there. And he's like, well, how about I come with you? And why don't we do it there and I'll still be there? And Paul sees where this is going. He sees that this is no good. And immediately, before it could even get that far, Paul appeals to Caesar, who is Nero at the time. But he appeals to Caesar. He's using his Roman citizenship. So, Jeff, why do you think Paul is appealing to Caesar so quickly? Is he just looking out for his own life so he doesn't, get killed on the way there, or is it something else?
No, I don't think Paul's just looking out for his own life, and that's for a number of reasons. Because it's Rome that has the power to put him to death. So on an official capacity, if anybody's going to kill him officially, it's going to be Rome. You know what I'm saying? Right. It is true that he's already faced this down, right? I mean, it was, Acts 23? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where it's like they've got a horde of 40 cats that are waiting to spear him through. So he knows that the Jews are willing to do this.
Yeah.
And it's not legal to do it.
But they're willing
to. They're willing to.
Yep.
Is Paul trying to save his life? No, I think he knows either way this goes, it could cost him his life. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think one of the things that Dr. Serrano mentioned just a bit ago, Paul's not willing at this point to surrender himself or admit any kind of guilt before Jewish law. To him, that's done. And so why would he go back? You know what I mean? Like, why would I be tried that way?
Okay. So why is he doing it then?
Well, so it's interesting, isn't it, that he says, I appeal to Caesar. Where's Paul trying to take this?
That's right.
Essentially. We're going to find out, and I'm sorry if I'm letting anything out of the bag too early, but we're going to find out.
It's in the book.
Yeah.
It's been out for a while.
Right. Yeah, it's been out for a minute.
We don't have to spoiler alert.
Somebody wrote about it at one point.
Read it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, hit pause. But the reality is we find out in Scripture elsewhere that there's, and you alluded to this before as well, there's revival that breaks out in Caesar's household. Like there's people in Caesar's household who get saved. And there's been a number of guesses, educated guesses among biblical scholars as to how that happened. Yeah. But by Paul and his presence in Rome and his evangelism of the Roman people, and especially the Roman upper crust, the guards, all of that, who are the people guarding him are also interchanging with Caesar's household.
Yep.
So Paul knows I'm putting the gospel in front of Caesar, front of Caesar's family. Like, why am I going to go elsewhere?
Yeah, let's not get too far away from the simplicity of quick obedience.
Yeah.
The Lord told Paul, you must testify in Rome.
That's right.
And Paul is on record. I count my life as nothing. That's what he's actually going to write words like that while he's in prison for these 4 years. I count my life as nothing. He just wants to preach the gospel. He wants to run his race well. He wants to finish what God has accomplished in him. I believe the words, he who began a good work in you will see it to completion, are written while he's in this time of incarceration. So for sure, the only thing he's focused on is the advancement of the gospel and just doing the last thing Jesus told him to do, which is you must testify. Man.
Yeah. And in fact, when God spoke those words to him, when Jesus spoke those words, you must also testify in Rome. That was when he was facing persecution from Jewish leadership, right?
Yeah, in front of the
So it's like, why am I going to go back and do that again? We've already finished all that. Like, I'm going forward. Yeah.
So Paul is on mission.
Yep.
And instead of defending himself, he's more focused on the mission that Jesus has given him. He's not just working the legal system in a clever way. He truly believes that this message deserves to go to the highest authority in the land, go to Caesar's house. He knows that that's what's going to cause more influence. Anyway, so I think that's interesting. Anna, what does this tell us about the confidence that we should have in the gospel, especially when everything seems stacked against us?
You know, I love what Dr. Serrano just said. It's mostly obedience here for Paul. We do have confidence in the gospel. We have confidence in the power and the authority of the gospel. Paul's going to go back to what Jesus told him to do. So it's less, maybe not less confidence in the gospel and more obedience, but his confidence in the gospel is expressed through his obedience. I don't care what it costs me. He actually says, it's not that I'm not willing to die.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to die this way. He plays their politics against them. He knows what he's doing to live on mission. And I think it's something, it's really interesting to think about this, the time period that we're in right now. I think a lot of people have been thinking, what would I do for the gospel? What does it look like to live radically, boldly for my faith? What am I willing to sacrifice and give up? And so that's something I think we all have to contemplate, going, do we actually believe that Jesus is who he says he is, that he died for us, that he was resurrected, that he lives today, that everything hinges on this? And then how does that inform my life? How does that change how I live? What am I willing to endure for that? So it's a challenging part of Scripture that we should all wrestle with, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of challenge in the midst of this. I love how you put that, and the fact that he counts his life as nothing. I know we just mentioned that, but
I mean, even when he was saved, Jesus appears to him. I know I use that term, saved, but when Jesus appeared to him, the Lord told Ananias, I'm going to show him how much he will suffer.
Yes.
Jesus has never hidden from us that following the gospel is going to mean suffering. He said, take up your cross and follow me. If you're going to follow me, you're going to have to take up your cross.
Right.
They didn't understand how literal that was going to be for him and even for them. But why would we think that it means any less for us today?
Yeah, and it's not a blind, robotic, or even some kind of masochistic, bring on the pain God. Paul, when he's, I think, in Ephesus, wherever he was when he wrote the letters to the churches in Corinth, right? Yeah. He's going to tell them in what we call 2 Corinthians, it's his most autobiographical letter. He's going to really talk about his pain and his suffering and how he begged God to take it away. He pleaded with him, and God said, no. My grace is sufficient for you.
Right.
My power is made perfect in your weakness. So Paul says, therefore, I'm going to boast in the weakness. And he just kind of bounces back. So I don't imagine him just like, oh, yeah, bring on the pain. This is great. But he's just learned how to walk in that obedience, connection to God, trusting in the call of God. And yes, this is going to suffer, but the suffering, what does Paul tell us? It's light and momentary compared to what awaits me.
That's huge because, yes, sometimes, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, sometimes God is in the trial.
That's it.
Like, we don't need to rebuke the trial because this time it's not spiritual warfare. This time it's not a consequence of something I've done. This time, actually, it's part of the plan all along. And when we find ourselves in that place, how do we focus on the mission instead of self-preservation? I mean, just for anybody, just when we find ourselves in that place, how do we focus on the mission?
I'm still trying to figure it out.
His grace is sufficient.
Yeah,
moment by moment.
It really is moment by moment, and usually it's hindsight. So in my experience, it's just me. It's not usually right in the fight where I'm like, "Yay, God, look at what you're doing." It's no, I'm going to kick and scream and complain and mess things up, and then God will help me through it. And maybe a day later or on the back end, I'll go, "Okay, Lord, I see what you were doing there." I think it's a moment by moment. I don't want someone to think we could give you a 5-step formula for here's how to obey and endure the trials that are coming your way. Just do this, this, and this. I think it really is as unique as we are.
Sometimes God will use other people to speak into your life. There was something recently where I was struggling with something, and it was like, this is just frustrating. It was deep. And someone else came to me and said, look, this is light and momentary. And does that, it doesn't necessarily feel good in the moment. Like, no, what I want you to do is be like, that's really hard, Anna. But it was a cast your eyes on Jesus. This, you need an eternal perspective for what it is that you're wrestling with right now.
Yeah.
This is light and momentary.
So, I think there's a level of self-awareness that's needed in all of this too, because if we're gonna, man, isn't it amazing how often we come back to suffering when we do this podcast?
When you're on.
When I'm on, that's right. Let's
sorry.
make it all dark
I'm
and
sorry,
heavy
man.
when Jeff's
Jeff,
on.
forgive me. It's the seat. There's something about sitting
Is
right
that-
here that just.
Oh,
I don't even know where that,
antagonistic.
I don't know where that came from.
You're doing
just
puppet
now.
master.
Yeah.
You're just directing everything the way
like,
you
wait a
want
minute.
it to go.
Wow.
But suffering well requires humility.
Yeah.
And when we're suffering, we don't feel like being humble. Like you said, I want to throw every complaint I have up in front of God and say, well, do you see my pain? Where the heck are you at? But it requires looking at it through a biblical worldview, through a biblical lens, and going, I know this is I'm speaking in like double negatives here. This is not for naught, right? Like this is not for no reason. God is in the midst of this. We have to be humble. I know I have someone that I know who will not be watching this, who recently just is in tremendous suffering right now and walked away from the faith because of it. Despite people trying to speak into this person's life, like, don't let go. But man, when there's a lack of humility, like suffering will get the best of us.
Yeah. And on the other side of the coin, though, when we suffer well, like, that can be worship. Because, when we suffer for the right reasons and we respond in the right way in humility, man, that is worship to God, because we're saying that you're worth it. We are putting our focus on you. We are saying that your mission, your ways, your plans and purposes are better, more important than my own self-preservation, my own pride. And that is a form of worship through our living. I think that's powerful.
Yeah, and that's not limited to just when we suffer because of something that we're doing right. That's just when I think that applies to suffering in general. So even when we're suffering because we live in a fallen world under the weight of the consequences of sin, you could be suffering from some disease that has nothing to do with what you've done specifically, and you can still suffer well in a way that glorifies God, that is worship. So it's not limited to a persecution type of suffering.
I was just going to say,
any suffering.
Let's reframe even that concept of suffering. We tend to want to do this comparison Olympics of suffering thing, and I get it. A previous podcast, we talked about perspective with the word persecution. Like, we should be careful in how we throw those things around. If we're going to look at what the Bible is doing, though, here, this is the safest Paul has been ever since Acts chapter 9.
That's an interesting point.
This is the safest Paul has been.
Ironically.
Chained to a Roman soldier. He has liberties. His friends can come to him. He has his scrolls. He's able to correspond and talk to people. And he's a political prisoner, but he's not being tortured. This isn't Philippi, where he's been stripped and beaten and is hanging above a dungeon.
Right.
This isn't he's on death row because he hasn't been sentenced yet. That's coming. He's actually in a very safe. So the suffering, if I'm Paul, the suffering is the delay. The suffering is the limitation. The suffering is there's churches to plant. There's people to check on. There's stuff to do. I want to get to Rome. I want to get to Spain. Well, whatever they're called. I want to keep going. There's a world to reach. That is just as much the suffering of there's stuff I want to do for you, God, and you're making me sit here. And I have to do something with the time. So, Paul's in chains, but I think that's important to note that this is actually the safest physically he's been. No shipwrecks, no beatings, no mobs. He was escorted there with 200 plus soldiers. He's got a warrior with him 24 hours a day. He's pretty good.
And apart from the shackles, he's in relative comfort, actually.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm
His
saying.
friends are taking care of him.
He's in a house. Like, he's not in a dungeon.
And
he's in a house.
scholars will point out that that's actually a light way to treat this. There's a couple of ways they could go about this, and the fact that, because originally it was Felix who said, your friends can take care of you, that he's actually getting some favor there. And so this is like the light version.
To your point earlier, this shows the political nature of why in the world is he still locked up? Because he's clearly innocent, but they don't want to let him go because the Romans think they can use him. So it's almost like some power brokerage. This guy's very expensive and he's worth something. Let's see what we can get out of him. Let's see what we can. Yeah.
All right, so the story continues, and I feel like this could be a Netflix documentary series or something because there's so much drama going on.
Yes.
The next scene, we see the Jewish king. So King Agrippa, he shows up with Bernice, who is his sister.
Yeah.
With whom everyone knows he's having a incestuous relationship with.
Yeah.
So
It's weird.
Yeah, there's some scandal here. What's even weirder is you don't see anything in Scripture the way that it describes the story. Like no one seems to think it's weird; they just let it happen. Like no one's speaking out about it. It's anyway, but it's an interesting situation.
Well,
so
the last guy in the Bible who spoke out against the
That?
Herod's marital situation
Indeed.
was thrown in chains.
Yeah, right.
And had his head served
Yeah,
up on a
I
platter.
was just going to say his head ended up somewhere
that's right.
else. Yeah.
John the Baptist.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, so this Herod Agrippa shows up with his sister Bernice, and they start talking with Festus. I keep confusing Festus and Felix, but Festus is the new governor. So he's speaking with Festus, and I was like, "Hey, I want to see this Paul myself." Now, Paul's already been on trial. Mm-hmm. He's already appealed to Caesar. But I get the sense that Festus is like, you know what, we'll do that almost like as a favor to you. I'm trying to be in good graces with you. I'll do that, but there's got to be a reason that we're bringing everyone back together. Okay, how about this? I'm writing a note for when he goes to Caesar. He's charged with, I don't know yet. Like, what is he charged with?
Fill
like
in the blank.
He's charged with bad vibes. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he's like, why don't we get together? And that's the premise on which we'll get together. And we'll try to figure out what these charges are about, and we'll bring this
Are
back
they
up.
trying to save themselves from the embarrassment of sending him to Caesar with no legitimate reason?
That's a great question.
It is a good question.
I think for sure Festus knows better because, again, the status quo saves your life in the ancient Near East. So whatever you do not make Rome angry because they're big, they're powerful, they are legion, literally, and they don't care about human life. Right?
Yeah.
They'll just wipe you off and put someone else in the place.
Yep.
So a lot of the political angling, this is the story of Jesus, right? In the crucifixion narrative, the passion narrative, this is what Pilate, who's already on thin ice, this is what he's wrestling with.
Right.
Of I can't afford another riot.
Yeah.
I can't afford more trouble. I'm on my strike 3. Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah. And I think to some degree Festus is in a similar position because he doesn't know whether to go to the right or to the left. Because on the one hand, if he releases Paul and makes Caesar mad, then bye-bye.
Yep.
On the other hand, if he or if say releases Paul, if he gives him back to the Jews, on the other hand, if he keeps him in prison or if he doesn't do that, that could end up causing trouble, and then he might be in the same position as
all a political game.
Pilate. Yeah. So Ben Witherington is going to say, hey, Festus actually seems to be a bit more of a straightforward kind of guy than Felix was. Like, maybe a little bit more integrity there. But make no mistake, it definitely seems like Festus and Agrippa are, on some level, they're already tight.
Yep.
And so
it would seem that way.
A little bit like you're going to go, maybe Festus has a bit more integrity, but if you're friends with this guy over here, you're guilty by association. Like, you can't be all that much on the up and up.
So they have this gathering again.
Yeah.
And they bring everyone in, and I hesitate to even call it a trial because it's not a trial, but they bring everyone in, and it's like this pomp and circumstance. They're bringing in the officials. They've got King Agrippa and Bernice, and I just imagine, like, the songs are playing and the robes are being worn, and like it's this big to-do. It's a royal parade,
Yeah,
basically.
it's the who's who.
Yeah. And it's this it's a kangaroo court. And so they bring him in. Dr. Carlo, why is Luke slowing down to tell this story with all these details about this trial? Like, what's the point of just explaining all of these details about the trial.
Yeah, I don't know. I have some guesses. So the university professor in me says he realized how close he's coming to the end of his content, and he's way far from his word count.
That's
so he's like, you know what?
That's super interesting.
You know what?
That's right.
Let me
That's
come
right.
down.
The publisher said my manuscript has to be these many words.
I'm
That's
like,
right.
I'm like 10 pages short. And okay,
That's so
hold
good.
on. Let me circle back
That's
to
so
this,
good.
this story.
That's right.
Add a few more scholarly sources.
Broadman and Holman is going to be mad at me. Yeah.
We obviously we can never really know what the motive is of an author of the text unless they're telling us this is why I'm writing to you. Thanks.
Sure.
Shout out to John the Beloved, because he loves to tell us I'm writing this so
indeed.
that you would. I'm writing this so that I don't know. What I like about the slowing down again is it does let us zoom in on just how much tension there was politically and how calm, cool, collected Paul is in the middle of all of that.
Yeah.
So what you see in Luke's treatment of how Paul is treated, this is, I've lost count now of how many times we've seen this cycle. He's going to preach. His preaching is not the best. That's my hot take on Paul. He's better at writing. Every time he gets up and gives a sermon, there's a riot or someone dies. Okay, that happened once, but that's enough. Like, nothing really good happens from his...
He admits it.
From his oratory, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have the eloquent words. But we see that same cycle. He's going to speak. There's going to be some kind of fight, ruffle. He's either going to flee, get beaten up, or he's going to end up in chains. And that's kind of been wash, rinse, repeat. This is the last time. So once we hit chapter 23, this is it. This is the end of the cycle. So you could make that argument of that's why he's slowing down, because we're not going to get another chance to see how he's going through this process, what's God's doing. So this is all leading up to the culmination, the climax of he's going to actually get to Rome.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, and
It's what I think.
I also feel like there's a stark contrast, and I'm speculating. I'm not saying that Luke told me this and this is why he's doing it, but there is a stark contrast that's being drawn here, because we see the failure that is the kangaroo court that's going on, because it doesn't seem like they're efficient. They're not effective. It's all just for show. It's all political. It's just for favors.
We need to be able to say we did something.
And it's not actually just. Everyone's claiming that, like, everyone knows he's done nothing wrong. Everyone in authority here knows that he's done nothing wrong. And yet he's continuing to go deeper and deeper into the process. Anyway, so you see that contrasted with God accomplishing his will.
Yes.
Despite what's the real justice from God, him accomplishing his will despite the fake justice that's going on in the kangaroo court.
Yeah. So some of the scholars are going to point out here that, Paul's, again, not to retread the same ground, but Paul's appeal to Caesar, to go before Caesar, means he's like, that has to happen now.
Sure.
Everything else stops. But that, just because he's a Roman citizen and has that right, doesn't mean it's going to be a direct route. Exactly. It doesn't mean that the people who are in positions of power are going to follow all of that as direct in as direct a path as possible. Like, they still have other things they want to accomplish and all of that. So he's going to get there. They've got to make sure that happens, but that doesn't mean they're going to play fair.
Right.
And so what you're saying about they're making a big show out of, look at all the things that we're doing and accomplishing, it's garbage. But
it is.
It has to be done. It's intentional political theater.
I love what you brought up a second ago, Dr. Carlo. Paul's demeanor throughout all of this, though. He's calm, cool, collected. He's in chains, but he's not freaking out.
Yeah.
He trusts in the Lord. And even when he opens his mouth, he's persuasive. He's about to give another sermon. That's his defense. Let me share another sermon with you. That's what he does. Jeff, how do we learn from Paul's example, especially when we're misunderstood or we're encountering hostility in our world today? How do we learn from his example?
Witness. Let me say what I mean. We have to build that kind of relationship with God where we experience him and we're used to hearing from him even when things are dark, right? So even when even when the pain is turned up to 11, that we're familiar enough with his voice that we can hear from him, right? Paul goes from Athens to Corinth, right? Zero chill, he's in weakness. He's, trembling, much fear, all of that. And it's in Corinth. We've talked about that extensively. Mm-hmm. And it's in Corinth. He gets that, or excuse me. Wait. Sorry.
He was in Athens.
I'm getting mixed up here. He gets a message from God, right? That like, hey, you're safe.
Yep.
Right? Am I getting my cities right?
Yeah, that's when
he went to Corinth.
When he gets to Corinth, is when the Lord encourages him.
I started going, wait a minute,
many
Ephesus? Yeah, it's Corinth. He gets to Corinth, and God says, relax, I got you. And then we got into all about the Nazirite vow and everything,
that's right.
What we suspect with that. So Paul himself has had to learn this process. So we're looking at this and going, how do we live like Paul? Well, first of all, let's acknowledge Paul himself had not previously been an expert on living out of a place of no fear. God's got me. Like Paul had to learn that himself. So
that's a great point.
When we find ourselves in a place of going, Lord, I'm terrified and I know I should trust you, but I don't feel like I do. Like we've got to drill down into a relationship with God and get in his presence.
Yeah.
Practice witness, become familiar with his voice so that our confidence in him grows and we see his hand of deliverance, which doesn't always mean that he's going to rescue us out of our hard circumstances, but that we find him in the middle of those circumstances, even if they last for a prolonged period of time. We learn how to get a hold of God and our confidence grows in him. It's hard to do that if you're already in the dark, but that's what we've got to get a hold of. So if you find yourself in the dark and you're having a hard time finding God, the first step is you need some people around you who are going to stand with you and pray with you and walk with you. And you've got to be humble. You've got to be willing to hear from those people when they go, hey, like, you got to stand up now. Let's walk. You got to keep moving. You got to be willing to hear from those people. You got to be willing to accept the encouragement and also the hard words that are going to come, and keep moving and keep pushing forward and lean into their faith and keep practicing your own. You're going to find him in those circumstances.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. So we mentioned this a second ago, but King Agrippa and Festus, they both have basically admitted that there's nothing wrong with Paul.
Yep.
And there could have been an alternative reality where he actually got off of these charges. But because he appealed to Caesar, now he's bound to go through that process.
Yes.
They're going to have to transfer him. He's going to have to go through the whole process until he's able to see the emperor himself, which is going to take a while. So he's actually choosing the longer route.
Yes.
So instead of getting off easy, he's having to wait. Anna, why do you think he would choose to wait? Why would he choose the longer route? And what does that say about his character?
He's choosing obedience. I mean, God has told him, Jesus has told him, this is where you're supposed to go. I love that he's not going to waste any opportunity to preach the gospel. So even in this sham kangaroo court,
right,
he could be dismissive and give like the least to just, kind of move his case forward. But he's going to take every opportunity to give an account of the gospel, to share what Jesus has done for him and the truth. So somebody's going to hear it. He's going to preach it to everybody who will listen. And he's just going to be obedient. So he doesn't know how long it's going to take. It doesn't matter. Jesus didn't say, go to Rome if it's convenient. He said, this is what you're supposed to do. And so Paul is a determined guy, and he's just going to face the headwind and go, this is what we've got to do. We're going to move forward.
Yeah. If we go all the way back to chapter 19 and 20, we can see that Festus and Agrippa have nothing to do with it. They have nothing to do with what's going on. They couldn't have let Paul free if they wanted to.
Yeah.
This is where you get some good, solid theology. Is God sovereign or not? Is he in control or not?
Right.
Because what he said is, prison and chains await you. I am. What did Paul say? I'm constrained by the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
I have to get to Jerusalem. So God is orchestrating all of this.
Yep.
He is in it. It doesn't look the way we would want it to look. But we see that happen in 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. In 23, it really comes to a head where the same God who allowed for this nephew to overhear the plan, the same God who opened up the heart of the tribune to listen to the nephew and then act on it, the same God who gives him this escort, the same swords, not literally, but the same brand of sword that's going to take Paul's head in just a few years was there protecting him, delivering him on a pillow to put him in the place where God wanted him to be. So this kangaroo court, this trial, it's just another one of those. The people who think they have power and control have no power at all, which is why Paul is dead set. Brothers, he looks intently, brothers. He has that, I'm equal with y'all, because the justice that matters, I'm right with God, I'm right with people, that's what he's hanging on to. So all of this stuff. Some scholars will argue Paul is a little, I don't want to say full of himself, but he's got a little bit of a chip.
There's a little, And there's some swagger
There's
there.
a little bit of swag in him. And so some would say that's really what's behind his, no, I'm going to Caesar. Kind of like, remember in Philippi when they beat him and then try to just rush him out. He's like, no. I'm
going to hang around
Keep
for a
that
second.
same energy. You're going to apologize to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's going to see, like so,
it's easier for everyone else if he just gives up. Right? But he's not going to.
Yeah, and again, I
So
think
some
it's
people
connected
say
to
that he's doing that. Are you suggesting out of pride?
Yeah, not out of pride, but just out of his right to be right. You have violated me, and you're trying to just brush this away. No.
But it would seem by the time you get to the end of chapter 25, it's more than just that. This isn't like
it's
right to be
strategic.
right. It's strategic because he
absolutely.
truly believes this message needs to go to highest authority. You know what? This is my opportunity to preach the gospel to Caesar.
Yeah.
So
God uses humans, though, right? And so we want to be careful. I want to be careful in the text to just not whitewash the things that seem confusing to me, or to dehumanize or to lionize people as if he is such a perfect saint. No, this is a man who was very smart, who had opinions, who knew what he was doing. And there are moments where we see that pop up a little bit, you know. Get out of town and don't come back. Nope, actually, I'm going to go back into the town and hang out with my friends.
Yeah. He's got a card up his sleeve. So I just, again, I'm not trying to paint Paul in any other light. I just want to give the whole picture of this very...
It's more nuanced.
Because, I mean, I know I hear this story and there's probably someone listening or watching and we think, but that's Paul. Yeah, but that's Paul.
He's got pure motives.
Yeah, but that's Paul.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that these words were written down forever for us.
Yeah.
So that we can also learn how to experience the closeness of God.
Yeah.
Walking in obedience with Him.
Yeah. And Luke is writing these words after Paul's death. So Luke has processed all of these events and is recording them through like what you said before. It's easier to look back on it and go, I see what was happening. So Luke is seeing all of this through the lens of God's sovereignty years later.
Yep.
Walking through it, it might have felt a little bit different than the way it reads on the page, you know?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I'm reminded of the old Puritan saying, God uses crooked sticks to make straight lines.
Yeah.
And to your point, Dr. Carlo, there are times where maybe we're doing the right thing, but with maybe not completely pure motives, and yet the Lord uses it anyway to accomplish His will.
For sure.
It doesn't justify all of our wrongdoing. It doesn't justify the lessons we need to learn along the way, and yet He's still sovereign. And yet He's still going to accomplish His will, and He's still amazing.
Yeah, and nobody's saying that Paul had impure motives in this. But
Not impure, but it also wasn't...
There's some snark in some of what Paul does at times. And but he plays with them a little bit. But I think if we could see more of the details beyond what Luke has recorded, we would see times when Paul's hearing from the Lord. No, you're not going to do that. It's not going to go that way. I'm going to make it like this. And Paul goes, okay, I know what you're up to. And so he plays that to his full advantage because he's going to, you know what? We're going to get a little steam out of this one.
Yeah. I'll spoil it, right?
Yeah.
Chapter 27 I'll spoil it. In 27, he has that same attitude. They're loading up this ship. You guys might not want to do that.
Right.
This is not going to go like you think.
Yeah.
Now, we might think he's some wise prophet. Whenever I preach that sermon over the years, I would always say, imagine being a full-time sailor and this know-it-all Bible scholar is telling you your business.
You got to do your job.
Get out of here. But what they don't know is this dude's been shipwrecked multiple times.
Right.
He's sailed these seas. He knows what he's saying.
Yeah.
But he has that same, hey, it's not going to end the way you want to. Hey, don't do it that way. Holy Spirit came to me. Do it like this.
Yep.
So, yeah, we see him for sure,
All right. So in light
That's
of
good.
Acts 25, how does Paul's story change our perspective? Because sometimes our perspective stays on ourselves. How can I preserve my own life and worry about my own comfort? But you hear this story and it kind of challenges you to look at the bigger picture. How is my life playing into the larger plan of God, even when it doesn't cater to my comfort? So how do we learn that in the midst of this story?
Yeah, I think
This is for anybody. Sorry.
I think there's what I learned in 25 is there's safety in the storm. So we've talked about that in several weeks. Not trying to give you a little cute bumper sticker cliche, but for real, sometimes the thing you're praying that God gets you out of is actually the vehicle. It's the vessel for him to carry you to what he wants for you. Sometimes the thing you're saying, oh no, look at that. God's like, if you would just trust me, that is actually going to be. We just experienced that here in the East Coast of the United States. A tropical storm did not beat up the East Coast of the United States because a bigger storm was to the right of it.
Yes. Yep.
And because of that bigger storm and the chaos it caused, it actually spared tons of people. So sometimes for praying away that big bad thing, well, actually, that's the thing that's going to save and help you. And that's what I see in 25 is, I said it earlier, Paul's in the safest place he's ever been and probably will be since he said yes to Jesus.
That's amazing.
No one is beating him up. There's no, he's just got to play these political games and use his words. He's good at that. He's getting food. He's got his friends. I mean,
He's writing letters.
And then he's saying, oh, send so-and-so to me. I want to talk to them. Send my scroll. Send my parchment. Like, he's not alone. He will eventually not be in that nice of a situation.
Sure.
He will be in a place where everyone has abandoned him. Some stuff's going to go down, right? That's future into the Bible. He will be in really bad jail. He will be on death row. But that's not where he's at right now.
Yeah, I love how you point that out. That so, I mean, I would look at this and say this is not an optimum situation to be in because you're in prison, and yet you point out, like, well, out of all of his years of ministry, it's actually the safest spot that he's been in historically, and he's writing Colossians or Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, and Philemon all during this time.
I'm not saying we should want to be locked up, right?
Right.
But have you ever had this kind of conversation with someone who did hard time? There are people who will say, you know what? Out there, wild, wild west, chaos.
Yeah.
In here, at least I got food and structure. And obviously, I'm not saying you want to be incarcerated and be in prison, but I actually honor that that mindset. I know when I was in active duty in the military, we kind of would have that same attitude. Like, wait a minute, you mean I just have to show up and put on the clothes they told me to put on, and they're going to put money in my bank account?
Yeah.
Like, this is, I know we're at war. Yeah, I know this. I know the business that we're in, but hey, this is a pretty cool deal, you know? And so
That's not an oversimplification whatsoever.
well, having done it, I'm telling you, it's really not. Having done it and lived with Joe, like, it's actually not an oversimplification. If your perspective is, this is actually not, there's a lot worse things I could be in. And so instead of trying to escape this, it's again, just having that perspective of, no, my needs are being met. I'm fulfilling my purpose. I'm doing my thing. And that's just what I see all over chapter 25.
It's a great point to end on.
Yeah.
I often, one of the things I like to remind myself of on a regular basis, Jesus is meeting all of my needs.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I like to convince myself, we like to convince ourselves that what I really need is this thing over there that I can't have. Or what I really need in order to be at peace is for this situation to be fixed. Yep. And really, the Lord doesn't just give us peace. He is our peace. He's meeting all of our needs. And so instead of looking out for the answers, I need to look to Him. And this is one of those situations for Paul. It doesn't matter what your situation is. As long as you're trusting Him and obeying, He's meeting all your needs. Yeah. So anyway, what a great way to wrap this up. Acts 25. But all right, let's jump into our final segment. Producer Todd, you said you had a spicy manna mailbag for us.
Yeah, I'm super pumped about it. Hey, great great word today. I can really go with the simple obedience on the active duty stuff. Right place, right time,
That's
right
right.
uniform.
I mean, you're still in the military.
Still in,
so.
yeah. But like, for an enlisted soldier, like that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's not oversimplification.
Yeah.
It is really easy. Anyway, yeah, I do have a Manna mailbag.
There it is.
There it is again. All right, this comes from at Tammy Navarro 3640. She says, in the Bible, Leviticus chapter 19, verse 28 tells us that we are not to tattoo our bodies, yet everyone seems to blatantly ignore and do as they please, even to the extent of claiming it as a religious right. So I'm going to pass this off to y'all panelists.
That's a bold question.
The Podians.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, wait. Can you restate that last part one more time?
So the last part, so people blatantly ignore and do as they please, even to the extent of claiming it as a religious right.
As a religious right. I'm
But
not sure
by
what she means
religious
by that.
right, you don't mean right R-I-G-H-T. You mean right R-I-T-E, as
Correct.
in
Yeah.
like almost like religious ritual type
Correct.
of. Okay, got it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So what say you?
Yeah, I'm not sure what she means by the religious right part.
Well, I think I can imagine I understand what's being talked about there. I may not be entirely correct, but I've heard people say things like, well, if my body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, why wouldn't I mark it as such? Like I've heard that kind of rationale before with tattooing. And I can understand where she may raise an eyebrow at that and go,
Yeah, no.
and I'm like, yeah,
Right.
Tammy, right? That's the name?
Yep.
Yeah, Miss Tammy. If that's where you're coming from, I can understand what you mean by that. Like I get it. I get it. Yeah. I don't want to be the guy who's just
Well, jump
automatically
in.
like, okay.
I mean,
all
I've
right.
got some stuff to say too, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
Nick and I are both like, yeah, I've got some stuff to
wait a
say.
second.
Yeah,
I
right,
just
yeah,
think it's a bold question, and I appreciate the question.
Oh, for sure.
And like the honesty of, hey,
Bring your
maybe
questions.
I'm wrestling with
Yes.
this. Can you explain
Yeah,
this to
yeah.
me? Because it seems like you guys have some liberty in this.
Let
So-
me affirm for anyone who's wanting to drop a question in the Manna mailbag, like we're not intimidated by the questions, and honestly, this is a great opportunity for us to talk about things and learn these things. So no,
Yeah.
I appreciate the question. What do you
That's
got?
great. So yeah, let me start off by saying, Miss Tammy, it's the way that you frame your question seems to me like you've already arrived at a conclusion about the subject. And your question, you've got some energy. There's some zing behind
what
your
makes
question.
you say that?
Yeah, there's some zing behind your question. So I'm going to match your zing a little bit here. I'm just, God bless you. I'm going to match your zing a bit. So there's a few things that we need to keep in mind here, and I'm going to try not to turn this into a a diatribe or I don't know, like a dissertation right now. But first of all, the context of what's happening here in Leviticus is speaking to the marking for the dead. So if you do the research on this, and I'm not saying you haven't done any research, please don't. I'm not trying to be condescending. I don't mean that. But if you really look into the context of this, what's happening is it's talking about those who have in pagan religious ceremony,
Right.
religious ritual,
Yep.
have marked themselves for the purpose of, and usually generally ancestral worship. Not always just that. There could be other pagan or even like proto-occultic religions that this has in view that are in the peoples of Canaan surrounding or that Israel is getting ready to go in and conquer. So there's some ritualistic nastiness, some dark stuff that's being practiced among some of these people. And in those occultic type practices, some of it is tattooing for particular spirits or for ancestral spirits and ancestral worship. And so some of this has to do with very dark, mystical or magical type of
Rituals, yeah.
purposes. So this has a very particular context. This isn't speaking to the modern Sailor Jerry, like
Mom
I
tattoo.
heart mom. Yeah, that's not what this is about. So in other words, this isn't just speaking to ink going into skin.
Right.
That's not what this is exactly hitting at. The real context is not giving oneself to certain forms of pagan and particularly dark pagan occultic worship. So
Right.
that's one of the big
That's a great
aspects
point.
of this you cannot ignore.
Yeah, so much of Leviticus is about is about separating God's people from the pagan cultures
100%.
of the day. Just
the law.
Hermeneutics 101,
Yeah.
great point what you're making on context. We also have to be intellectually honest in how we treat a text.
Yeah.
And so the Leviticus texts are some where we tend to want to pick and choose
Oh, baby,
which
here we
one
go.
of these passages
Yeah.
are we going to give more weight to. So you shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. Well, what does that mean? How do I do that? Do not turn to mediums or necromancers. Oh, we're really good as Christians of saying, oh yeah, we're not going to dabble in that witchcraft stuff there, but you shall stand up before the gray head and honor the face of an old man. Like, there's so many things in there. So we have to get to what is the heart. And that's why I love, it says in verse 33, when a stranger sojourns with you in your land, you shall do him no wrong. You shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
Yep.
I am the Lord your God. So you can start to get into the heart of, well, okay, that tattooing thing doesn't mean what we think it means here. By the way, I think it's the only place in the entire 66 books where we see that referenced. But how
Yes.
much does God talk about how we treat other people?
Yeah.
How much does he talk about how we treat the foreigner?
Yeah.
How much does he speak against prostitution and the wickedness and the evil? So you can capture and obey the heart of what he's saying there in Leviticus,
Right.
and not get into this game where we're going to handpick this verse.
Sure.
This is for all Christians, but this one isn't. No, we got to look at the heart of
Well,
of
let's
what
also
he's saying.
play devil's advocate for a second, because if we want to interpret that passage about the tattoos the way that it sounds initially, well, then we have to interpret the other stuff the same way. And in that same passage, correct me if I'm wrong, but it talks about the types of clothes you're wearing.
Okay.
Right? And it talks about the way you grow out your sideburns.
I love medium rare steak, and I'm violating Leviticus 19:26 every single time. You shall not eat any flesh with blood still in it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Right. Or pork. I mean,
That's a huge one.
right?
that
Yeah.
was Acts chapter 10,
Yeah,
my friend. That was fixed.
It's amazing.
That's right.
It's amazing how often people will harp on the tattoo passage while they eat their bacon wrapped shrimp.
yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, let me go into this as well. When you come into the land and plant any kind of tree for food, then you shall regard its fruit as forbidden. 3 years it shall be forbidden to you. It must not be eaten. Let me ask a question. Anybody watching this ever planted a fruit tree or a vine? Did you wait 3 years before you ate the fruit? Because that's what God required you to do in the same passage where you're condemning tattoos from? Probably
right.
not. Why? Why not?
Yeah, so
Right.
I want to be careful. What we're not saying is that's Old Testament law,
No,
write it all
that's
off.
right.
We're actually saying the opposite. We're saying find the heart of God, and that's what we're trying to obey when we're dealing with, especially the Torah. When we're dealing with the first 5 books of the Bible,
Yep.
we really want to wrestle with what are the eternal principles and values of God that we're supposed to follow. What's his heart behind this?
Yeah.
And that helps us make sense.
Right.
I'm actually reading Leviticus in my personal devotion time,
Yeah.
hating every minute of it, by the way, but I'm going to keep
I
doing
love
it
Leviticus.
I
I'm
read it.
nerdy.
I
'cause
read
I'm-
it every year.
I'm
I
loving
love
it.
I do too.
I've been studying
Yeah.
18, 19, and
I love
20 this
Leviticus.
week, actually,
Yeah.
in a class. And there's several scholars that make the argument that Leviticus 19 is kind of the centerpiece of the Torah.
Yeah.
And the more that I'm listening to it, the more I'm learning, even looking at the Hebrew, I'm like, this is amazing.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
nerding out on it.
Yeah.
Because there is so much beauty, but there's so much that we don't understand if we don't study it in context, if we're not looking at some scholars who can read it in its original and explain some things to us. So there's a lot in there.
Also, when we get to Revelation, I know this is prophetic language and pictorial and everything, but it does describe Jesus coming back riding a white horse.
Stop.
does.
Don't do this.
He does.
You're
It's-
getting
it's
ready to say
true.
he's got a tattoo on his
There's
thigh.
a name written on his
And,
thigh
yeah,
that is
okay.
King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
But I don't think he had some guy with stretched ears sit down and ink it into his
No,
skin.
but-
I don't
But
think
was
that's
it like
what
a
happened. So
temporary?
Right, yeah, are you
one of those
saying-
little, like,
So what are you
gumball
suggesting?
machine
Yeah, I don't think that was
tattoos,
what-
like-
Sharpie.
you guys,
that's right.
you guys are
It's
making
like, hold up, gotta go in. Wait.
you guys are making my favorite passage in the Bible. You're like making jokes about it.
Oh,
the lightning is going to strike.
Are we hurting?
How dare you? I feel
Yeah.
so. No, I'm
he
joking.
can't stand it.
I'm joking. Yeah.
Okay, so let me say one last thing. In other words, what we're saying is the reason people don't, when they plant a fruit tree now or a vine, they don't wait 3 years to get to eat the fruit. It's because they look at that and go, I don't really feel like that's what we have to do anymore. But it's the same chapter that talks about tattoos. The only place in the Bible that addresses that issue. So if you don't think you have to take those verses literally, verses 23 through 25 about the fruit tree, if you don't have to take that literally, why are we necessitating that verse 28 must be understood literally? You are, forgive me. No, not forgive me. Hear me. You are violating the law of hermeneutics, the laws of hermeneutics, by saying verses 23 through 25 don't apply or are not literal, but verse 28 must be. It's the same chapter.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? So if someone is sitting here listening to this and going, oh man, there are a bunch of these scriptures that I've maybe built this ideal on, or I've heard, I don't think, have you always felt this way about tattoos and had the understanding and liberty that you have? Maybe you have.
I think when I was a child, because of my family, my grandfather was super anti-tattoo. So he was a World War II vet. If you got tattoos, that meant you were a sailor and you did really bad things in your private time, right?
Yeah.
So tattoos were just icky, right?
Okay.
So I kind of felt that way as a kid. As a teenager, I got into other stuff and tattoos seemed cool. And I mean, at my age and in my age group, that kind of everybody, like I think more people my age have tattoos than don't at this point.
That's probably true.
So yeah, anyways, but as a Christian, I've never felt like tattoos were super bad or
So
super
if
evil.
somebody's wrestling with it and they want to learn, so they've listened to you, but they go, I want to learn not just about this, but how to study this out. So when I've got a scripture like this and I've built so much on it and I've heard so much taught about it, but I'm not exactly sure what's behind that, how do they learn? What's their next step?
I think this is a great step. You send it to the man of mailbag. Witness. We need the Bible in community.
Yep.
So I would say step one, get in a small group. Step
There you
two, go to church and ask the pastor, ask a leader, ask ask someone with a here to serve lanyard, help me out. Now they might not have the answer, but I hope that their training would lead you take you to someone who might be able to help. Of course, there's it's low hanging fruit question for me. That's a softball.
say,
yeah, of course. There's
Step 3.
Of course, there's
And?
biblical higher education, get
There
some
it is.
education.
Yeah, take a hermeneutics course.
Do you know a college or a university?
I do.
There might be one around.
You can take a hermeneutics class. You can go to manna.edu, but I think to your point, it's actually not that complicated, and it doesn't have to be that expensive. The power of witness in community. So to answer your question, I grew up in a very fundamentalist type of church environment where tattoo was bad, movie was bad, but we never lived like that in my household because my dad knew how to read the Bible, and he taught us how to understand. I've been doing hermeneutics and exegesis since I was 8 years old at some level because my father was a man of the book who taught us how to read the Bible and study it. And here's what this really means.
That's awesome.
And so the more we did that, the more freedom we found in Christ and the more restriction we found in
good.
Christ. The more constraint we found because
More
I
challenge.
got to live this out.
Yeah.
I've got to be like Jesus.
About your heart. Actually, that leads me into
Exactly.
one. I thought one way to wrap this up with the man of mailbag would be, all right, if someone's out there thinking, I'm thinking about getting a tattoo. I'm a Christian. I don't know where I fall on this. What type of wisdom would you ask them to consider before doing that?
Do not violate your conscience. So if you're thinking about getting a tattoo, but you're not sure yet if you think that's okay, don't do it until you have become convinced that it is. There are issues theologically that are not just theological, they're also issues of conscience.
That's good.
So if there is something in you that says, I'm not sure about this, or I think this might be bad, or I think this might not be for me, or I think maybe the Holy Spirit's telling me not to do this, even though maybe it's actually okay to do it, maybe the Holy Spirit's telling me not to. People feel that way about alcohol. I don't think the Bible condemns alcohol. I think it's pretty clear that it doesn't. But there are a lot of people, and I had a period
Drunkenness.
Yeah, well, not only that, there was a time when I felt like I'm not supposed to consume anything like that. And it was a period of years. And if you're under conviction that I don't think this is for me, don't do it.
That's right.
Because that the Holy Spirit may be the one putting that there. Honor what God is telling you to do.
Personal
That-
conviction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And also, I think there's probably something to be said about the types of imagery that you are tattooing on yourself.
Yes.
So if you're celebrating something that does not align with the Bible,
Yeah.
doesn't align with what the Lord tells us, our values, then that's probably not good.
Yeah.
Like a Dallas Cowboys star.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well,
Absolutely.
I don't have a Dallas Cowboys star, but I wouldn't think
Because
that.
you're a man of God. See?
Indeed. Yeah. Yeah. If you're going and getting pagan images or pinup girls tattooed,
Yeah,
don't do that. Don't
not-
do that.
right.
Okay.
But all right, good stuff. Well, thank you. That was a good question. Honestly, if y'all have more
Yes.
questions
Yes.
like that,
Great
send in
conversation.
your questions. We'd love to talk about them. So, hey, I have a couple of shout outs I want to give right before we end. First shout out is this Freddy's Custard. I love
Yeah.
you guys. You just shout out to you guys.
Fantastic.
I want to tell you,
100%. Frankie.
yeah. So if you don't know, Freddy's here in the Fayetteville, Fort Bragg area, especially out in Hope Mills, man, they donate so much food, so much custard to outreach. I know it sounds crazy, but if we're trying to bless like a football team or bless some people out in the community, or
fantastic.
there's a special neighborhood that we've adopted that most people statistically live in food scarcity, they have donated so much food for free. And we'll do outreaches with this, just giving people food. So I just want to give a quick shout out to Freddie. So we love you guys. Thanks for what you do. We love partnering with you in the community to make a difference. But that's all I've got today. Thank you for tuning in. We love you guys so much. If you live in the Fayetteville, Fort Bragg area, I want to invite you to come to one of our in-person services. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to see you in person, get involved in small groups. If you don't live here, you can follow us online at our website, manna.church, or even our YouTube channel. You can watch Manna online, see all of our sermons right there. But we love you guys. God bless you. Have a great week. And until next time, let's change the world. Check out our website, manna.church, to find ways you can get connected with our services, small groups, outreaches, and more.